Welcome back. This is Ahmed Hamdi and this is Accelerated AutoCAD 2020 course. In the previous video we talked about draw section in the home ribbon right there, and then we have like a fast preview on the AutoCAD interface, and in this video I'm gonna show you modify section, and we may take annotation if we have more time in this video. So before we start modify section, let me give you another important issue about AutoCAD, which is the selection issues. So let me do something random like this one. Let's close the ortho mode. So let's assume we have something like random lines like those ones here. So actually when you click at any space area like this one here and drag from right to left, we have something like a green window like this one we have right there. Okay, but we have, if we have dragged from the left to the right, we have another blue window like this one. Okay, so what is the difference between green window and blue window? So from right to left we have green one, and from left to right we have blue one. So this is very important for selection issues. So let me give you an example. If we drag from the right to the left, and if we have something like this green window, we just click and then drag. Okay, so everything will be just like portion of it included in this window, it will be selected. I mean, like those lines, those two lines, part of them or like small portion of them is included inside this green window, so they will be selected. Okay, so just you have to touch any part of any entity to be selected. This is the green window. Let's do the same for the blue window and see what will be happened. So if we drag from left to right, and then we have something like this blue window, so that means that the whole entity should be included inside this window to be selected. So now we have like 4 lines, but actually one of them is fully included inside this blue window, so this one will be selected, this one only will be selected, as we can see right there. So again, for green window, just small portion of any entity should be included inside the window to be selected, and for the blue window we should have like the whole feature or the whole entity should be selected and or included inside this blue window to be selected. Okay, so let's start with the modify section. So basically we have different features right there: move, rotate, copy, mirror, and trim, and the rest. But actually we have like same features with same steps. Not same features, but actually for move and rotate, copy, and scale, actually they have the same steps, but actually they are different, they are working different. So let's try the move one. So when we pick move, actually, as I told you in the previous video, we can just type move in our keyboard. Okay, so here it says that we have to select objects to move. So let's assume we'll open, or we will move this random shape. Okay, and then we just selected everything right now, so we have to hit enter in our keyboard. Okay, then it will ask you to specify the base point of motion. So let's assume we'll drag from this point. Okay, so we can put it anywhere, and actually you can move it like in a specific distance by just type in this rectangle we have like 2244. This rectangle, this is the length or the motion length of this feature. So you can just type the value and the angle of the motion, or you can put it wherever you want. Okay, the same for rotate. When we select everything, we can just hit rotate, and it says that we have to specify the basic point. So let's assume this will be the basic point or the base point. So now you can rotate with any angle you want. So let's assume you want to rotate it like 45 degrees, so I will hit 45 in our keyboard and then hit OK. So the motion will be in 45 angle. Okay, let's take copy. Actually we can select, actually we have two different options. We can either select in the first and then click the feature itself, or we can just click on this feature and follow the command bar. Here it says that we have to select object, so this will be the object. Okay, and then enter, and then the base point, so let's assume this will be the base point, and you can move it many times or move it at a certain distance and angle we want. Okay, so the same for scale. Let me do like a small star, something like that, and we should scale it. So if we want to scale this star up or down, we can just hit scale, and then this, let's assume this will be the base point as it says right there, and we just can type the scale factor. So let's assume we want to decrease it to half, so we have to just write 0.5. okay, and then hit enter. So now we have like half a star in size. Okay, so every dimensions will be relevant to the scale factor. Okay, so now we know move, rotate, copy, and scale. So let's assume we want to do this feature, which is trim. So we have different options to do this feature. This is very crucial feature in modify panel right there. So the most simple one to do this feature is just select all. So we can hit Ctrl A in our keyboard, select everything, select all, and just hit this icon, trim. Okay, so let's see what will be happen. So we can just trim this one, and trim this one, and trim this and that and this one. So we can trim whatever the lines we want. Okay, it's very simple. Okay, but let's have a deblock in this feature. Actually, for this line it will not be trimmed. We couldn't trim this one and that one, the same for this one. Why? Because this line and those lines are not intersected with any other lines. So this is a very important issue in trim feature. We should have something like intersected lines or intersected features to be trimmed. So we couldn't trim this one because actually this is the start point and this is the end point of this line, and it's not intersected with any other lines, so this one shouldn't be trimmed, or couldn't be trimmed, by the way. Okay, so this is the trim feature. The opposite feature of this one, which is extend, this one here. If we click on this one, we can just click the same feature. We can select all, select everything, and then hit extend, and we can extend whatever the lines we want. Okay, something like that. So we are extending lines right now. Okay, it's very simple. Okay, so this is extend. Okay, for erase, we can just select whatever we want to erase and then hit this icon. It's very simple. And actually we can do this feature with another option. We can select everything and then hit delete in our keyboard. Okay, so this is for erase. We take copy, let's take mirror right now. So let's assume we have this star and we want to take the mirror part or the mirror drawing of this star. So let's do something like a random line right there, and we want to mirror this star around this line. So first of all we have to select this star, and then we can hit this icon, this mirror feature, and actually we can type it in our keyboard as well. So let's start with this mirror feature. Here it says that we have to specify the first point of the mirror line, so this would be the first point of the mirror line. Okay, and then the second point will be that point. Okay, and then it says if you want to erase the source object or no. We can assume that we want to keep it, so it will be no. Okay, it's very simple. Just select, click on this icon, and just identify 2 points. Let's assume we want to mirror this one in the space without doing this line, so we select mirror feature. Let's assume this will be the first point and that will be the second point, and then hit OK. Okay, so this is for mirror feature. Okay, so for trim, let's do like 2 lines right there. So let's assume that this one will be 100 and that one will be like 200. Okay, hit enter. Let's zoom in. Okay, so Now we have like a sharp corner between those two lines, right? And we want to make like a tangent arc between them. This is called fillet. Okay, so when we click on fillet feature right there, okay, it says that we have to specify the radius of this fillet. So we will just write R in our keyboard and then hit enter. Okay, now it tells that we want to specify the fillet radius, so let's assume the fillet radius will be 30 millimeters. Okay, and then we can hit enter, and now we can select the first object. Let's assume this will be the first object and that will be the second object, and now we have like a rounded corner between those two lines. Okay, let's do the same for the chamfer. Okay, for the chamfer, actually we can open it from this menu. We have something called chamfer. Okay, so it's like a shoulder between two lines. Okay, so let's click on this one. The same, we can make this chamfer with two main options, like in distance and angle and distance. So let's start with distance. So let's assume we'll click on D, which is referring to distance, and then hit enter, and then let's assume the first length or the first chamfer distance will be 20 millimeters, and then hit OK, and the other one will be like 35 millimeters, and then hit OK, and then we have to select the first line, which will be this line, and this will be the second line, and now this will be the 20 millimeters, and this value or this distance will be the 35 millimeters. Okay, and now we have a chamfer or something like a shoulder right there. Okay, let's do it with angle. So let's do it again. Actually, we have very important shortcuts in AutoCAD. We can just go up and down to make like maneuvering or skimming or finding the previous features we have done once you open this application. So those are the previous features, so you can select between them. So if you want to repeat the last feature, you can just go up and hit enter. Or we have another interesting shortcut. We can just enter double click on enter twice, like enter, and then the last feature will be activated. Okay, so let's do it again. So this will be the first this will be the chamfer feature but with angle option. So let's click on angle and then hit OK. Let's assume that the line will be like 30 millimeters and the angle will be 45 degrees. Okay, and now this will be the first line and that will be the second line, and now we have this chamfer. Okay, so this is the chamfer feature. Actually, we have fillet and chamfer right there. For explode, as I told you before in the previous video, if we have something like constant one entity for those polyline feature, so we can divide them into many different separate lines. We can just click on this explode icon. So now we have like separate lines instead of just one line, one connected line. If we want to do them back, we can select them all and then open this menu and make join. Okay, so every lines will be joined together to be like just one entity. Okay, so let's have interesting feature here, which is break and break a point. So let's assume we have a triangle like this one here, and we want to make like a cut in this rectangle. So let's click on this one, break, and this will be the object, and that will be the second break point. Okay, so now we have a cut among this rectangle. Okay, so let's do it with a circle, or let's do it like a separate cut here. So we can click on this one, this break at point. Okay, and select this object and click and specify the first break point, which may be this one here, and now we have like a separate entity. Okay, so this is for break. Okay, let's move with stretch feature. So let's click on this one. So this will be the base point, and we can just drag it. No, not this one. Let's assume we have something like that, like the end of the bolt. We have like a chamfer right there, something like that. Okay, and we want to stretch it down. We can just click on stretch, select objects, those ones, okay, base point, this one, and just drag it down. So this is a stretch. You make something like elongation feature right there. Okay, we set the scale, so let's move to the array. Okay, so let's assume we have something like a circle and we want to repeat this circle like in a certain pattern. Okay, so we can just click on this rectangular array feature. Once we click on this one, it says that we have to select the object. As I told you, everything should be followed by the command bar instructions. Once you are following the instructions of the command bar, AutoCAD will be very simple with you. Okay, so let's select the object, this one, and hit OK, hit enter in the keyboard, and now we have this matrix. It says that the number of columns, the number of rows, the distance, and the overall total length and between each one, so you can manipulate the quantities, the distances, whatever you want here, and just click close array, and now you have like a pattern of the feature you're drawing. Okay, so let's assume we have something like a circle. Let's repeat. No, we can go back. We can just click on circle. Okay, let's assume we have like a smaller circle right there, and we want to make something like a flower or something like circular array. So we can open up this menu and select polar array. Okay, now it says we have to specify select the object. This will be the object we want to array, then hit OK, then that will be the center point of the array, and now we have the quantity. It's like a default quantity of 6. We can change it to be like 5 or 4 or whatever the value you want, and then close array feature. The last array feature is like path array. So let's have like something like a random curve like this one here. Okay, and let's draw a circle like that, and then click on path array. Okay, now it says we have to select the object, so this will be the object, and then hit enter, and then select this path curve, and then we have this array feature. We can manipulate the distances and the array quantities among this window. Okay, so the last feature in modify section we'll talk about is this one, which is offset. We can make like a parallel features or parallel entities. So let's assume we have something like this polyline here, and we want to make like an offset or a parallel with the same shape, with the same geometry at a certain distance. So first of all, we'll click on this feature, and then we have to click on T, which means through, and then hit enter in our keyboard, and now select the object to offset. This will be the object, and now write the distance or the offset value we want. Okay, so let's assume it will be like 40 millimeters. So now we have an offset with 40 millimeters from each point. Okay, so this is the offset feature. Okay, so let's move to the annotation section. Actually, it's a very simple section. We have something called multi-line text. So if we click on this one, and just we have this rectangle activated, so we can open up this rectangle and type whatever you want, and then you have to click outside this rectangle, and now you have a text right there. If you want to increase the font of this line, we can just double click on this one, select the text we want, and change either the font type or the font size. So let's assume this will be like 20 size, so now it will be increased, and we have something like that. Okay, so this is for text feature. For dimensions, I don't recommend to use this one here, because actually we have different dimensioning techniques right there. So let's start with those ones here. So what is the difference between linear and align dimension? So let's assume we have something like this inclined line. Okay, and let's select this linear feature. So first of all I will pick those 2 points, and now we can have either just the vertical or the horizontal dimension of this line. Okay, we couldn't have like the linear or the length value of this line. We just could have the vertical or the horizontal dimension of this line. But if we select a line feature or a line dimension, we can just select those 2 points, and then we can have the length of this line. Okay, so this is the difference between linear and align dimensions. For the angular dimension, we can make just like those 2 lines and select this angular dimension and select the first line and the second line, and then write the value or measure the value we want. We can take the reverse angle or whatever the angle we want. Okay, so this is for angular dimension. For the arc length, actually we can, if we have something like random arc, let's assume we have like something like that and we want to measure the length, we can just make it something like that. So it will say that this portion of the arc has this value of length. Okay, so this is for arc length. Let's move to the radius and diameter, but actually before doing those ones, let's give the difference between them. So now if we have a complete circle, technically we should put the diameter value. We couldn't put a radius for a complete circle. Okay, so we have something like that. We should have something like that. We couldn't do something like that. This is like a standard value. Okay, a standard dimensioning technique. So we couldn't put a radius in a complete circle. But when can we use this radius value? Actually in incomplete circles or arcs. So now if we have something like this arc, you can just put the radius of this arc. Okay, the same for fillets. Now I think we had fillets here. Yeah, this one here. We can measure this fillet. We can just put the dimension of this fillet, as you can see right there. Okay, so this is for radius. Okay, and diameter. Okay, this, if you want to make like the positioning of anything or something like that, you can use this one. So let's move to the leaders. Actually, when we can use this leader option, in mechanical engineering we have something called assembly drawing. So in the assembly drawing, we are taking a cross section in the assembly to illustrate the arrangement of components. So we will see like different components. So we just want to point each component to illustrate it in the bill of material table. So we have to use something like leader technique. So let's assume this is a component and we want to indicate it. So I will just pick this one and select any part of this line and write, let's assume this is part and this will be part number 1. Okay, but actually we call it balloons, so we want to put this in a circle. This one value we should put it in a circle. So how can we change it? We can change it from here. Actually we can change anything like the text value or the dimension style. If we have like small values of dimensions, we can increase it from here. The arrows of the dimensioning lines, we can increase it from arrow size here. The precision of the dimension as well, we can change it from here. So all style or dimension style we could be modified or change it from here. Okay, the same for the text and the leaders and the tables as well, the one we'll talk later. Okay, after the leaders. So if we click on this multi-leader style, we can just click modify, and then we have like 3 tabs above right there. If we click on, or if we select the last one, which is content, okay, we can change the multi-leader type to be block, and the block could be a circle, something like a circle, and then we can hit OK. Okay, so let's try it again. We can write 1, and then we have something like that. Okay, so now we are done with the leaders, dimensions, and text, and let's do the table. For the table, actually it says that we can assign the number of rows, the number of columns, whatever the column length, and the row height, whatever the titles we want, anything, you can adjust it and modify it from here. Let's do a table and see how can we adjust, like merge cells or do whatever, any modifications in this table. So we can just hit OK. Let's assume that this will be the table. Okay, so now we have a table. It's some sort of a spreadsheet or something like Excel table. So we can just select those cells and we can just like delete, merge, insert. Let's merge cells, merge all, and we have something like that, merged cells. So if you want to make like customized bill of material, like revision tables, like whatever the table you want, you can adjust it and modify it from this feature right there. Okay, so let's sum up what we say in this tutorial. Actually, we started with the selection issues, and then we go to modify section and we skimmed everything here, and then we move to annotation, and we know how to change the text style or the dimension style or the multi-leader style, and then we ended up with tables. So I think it's fair enough for this tutorial, and in the last video I'm gonna show you the layers section and how we can print and like make the plot feature and do the rest functions in AutoCAD. So we'll finalize everything in the next video. Okay, so thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.